Welcome to the VET S.O.S. Veteran Entrepreneur Spotlight. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S. Lifeline. Veteran Entrepreneur Spotlight is proud to be affiliated with Neil Haley's show and sponsored by SpearPoint Solutions. SpearPoint Solutions is a one-stop shop for leading-edge products, services, and training from multiple vendors, from AI training to corporate gifts and much more. They have everything you need to help your organization thrive in the modern economy. Please check out all their valuable offerings at spearpointonline.com, and remember to use the code VETSOS on anything you purchase there. That'll help us continue our mission of improving the lives of those who have served. Today, we're sitting down with Jeremy Walker, Army Sergeant First Class retired, founder and chief visionary of Helmets to Boots Foundation and LLC. Hailing from Georgetown, South Carolina, he served 22 and a half years in military intelligence, earning a Bronze Star in Afghanistan. He retired as a senior geospatial intelligence officer and instructor for the Army's drone program. Jeremy holds a bachelor's in business and a master's in organizational leadership. Through Helmets to Boots, he empowers veterans and their families to have a better quality of life and advises companies on the veteran hiring and support. He leads the VETTRON training initiative, providing veteran-focused education through peer-run programs. Jerry remains active in multiple chambers and veteran groups, living by the principles of servant leadership in Marietta, Georgia. Fantastic. How you doing today, Jeremy?
I'm good, brother. And yourself?
Oh, not too bad. I could complain, but I don't think anybody's listening, so.
I got you, man. I got you.
So, well, fantastic to have you on here. Let's jump right into it, man. Let's start with your transition. How did your transition out of the military go?
My transition was interesting, to say the least. We all get this ideal of how everything is supposed to be. Hey, I'm getting out. I'll get this perfect job. The marriage is supposed to be this way. I'm going to do stuff with the kids, and it was totally 360 of that. So I had a job that I turned around and basically did the same thing I did in the Army. They fired me because I did everything too fast. I'm like, hey, I've been in the military since I was 16. I go 400 miles per hour, and it was a government contract. So they were like, you take 6 months. What we do is, hey, you give us 6 months. We do 6 different things. But that was an eye opener, and then it led me into going to school. I got divorced. Go figure. In addition to all of that stuff, didn't get the kids. And then it was just like, so what's my purpose? Where am I going now? And then that led me into entrepreneurship.
Okay. Yeah, the transition, everybody says for us Intel guys, transition's easy. You guys got it made when you transition.
Mm-hmm. It sounds good unless you want to move and start all over and different. Yeah, it's totally different, man. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. So when did you first get that entrepreneur bug? Was it just because, you got tired of, your situation after you transitioned, or was there something else there?
So when I was small, man, I always wanted to be a business owner, and then I went to the military at 16, and I liked the construct of the Army. It was just like, hey, you got organizational leadership, you got micro and macroeconomics. So we were already doing business. It was just I was working for somebody else. And as I transitioned and started going to school and was trying to figure out my new purpose, I took the Boost to Business course, not realizing that would educate me enough to say, you can do anything you want to do. It's the same thing as me going to the military and getting an MOS. Well, I had to be taught some of the skills and so forth. And it's like, I have a lot of this stuff. So now it just embellished that to make me want to go ahead and try it. So I took a leap of faith, prayed to God, and before I knew it, here we go with 2 or 3 different businesses.
Outstanding. It's that Boots to Business course. I really think they undersell it. I loved it. Learned so much from it, and met our mutual friend Reggie through that. And, it's just that. And then the revenue course after that in Mississippi State, another phenomenal course. There's just so many great resources out there. And, I don't know that a lot of people really understand the benefit of that course. And I wish they'd talk about it more. And even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, it's well worth taking.
Yeah, look, not yet until I get in front of them.
There you go. All right. So what's been the best and worst parts about being an entrepreneur?
The best part of being an entrepreneur is I get to be my authentic self. I love being a leader. I love being a servant leader on top of that. And then it was just like, I genuinely love taking care of people. But then when you work in a construct under somebody else, they limit you to only what they want and their vision. So now, I get to live out my purpose and my vision through entrepreneurship. The worst part of it is, I don't know everything. So you got so many different avenues you got to learn. I don't even like being in front of a camera, but now I got to take pictures and do videos and all this other stuff that I want my son to do for me and my kids because it's their generation. but then life keeps changing, so now you have to keep reading and so forth. But that's another thing that that's a gift and a curse too, because I like learning. I like constantly knowing stuff. It keeps me moving. But I was like, but there's so much in the world that that could be a negative thing too, because you lose so much time trying to be a master of your skill. It's like, oh man, I got it this morning at 6, and now it's 6 in the afternoon. So,
Oh yeah, time can go quick.
uh-huh.
Um, it's it's funny you bring up the photography thing, 'cause I hate taking pictures, and here I am running a podcast, and I'm on video and all the time. It's like, all right.
uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, but it's a different type of conversation when you look at it, right? Me and you would probably be sitting down at lunch or whatever, especially being in Intel. We're going to sit down and talk to each other, sit across from each other, sharing information. And here we are on a screen, or every time you go to an event, you got to be dressed to the nine because somebody's taking a picture and you're like, I wouldn't even think about all that. Or you don't do it at all because you're talking to people. And before you know it, be like, man, I didn't even take a picture to post. So it's a different time. So,
oh yeah, oh yeah. And yet the other point you made there that really stands out to me anyway, and it probably because I'm like you, a senior non-commissioned officer, is you like taking care of people. That's
yeah.
part of the DNA. You're out there taking care of your soldiers, your troops, making sure that all their needs are met. And that's not something that easily disappears. It's something that sticks with you. And it's a good friend of ours, Dr. Vincent Soto. He says all the time that you may not want a leadership position when you get out of the military,
Yeah,
but eventually you're going to be in one. Because it's part of
exactly.
your DNA.
Yeah.
Eventually you're going to step up because it's who you are.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's a great point, man.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so entrepreneur programs. You talked about taking the boots to books. What other programs have you participated in, if any? Military or civilian?
Oh, I've taken everything. So the voc rehab, I got my uh I got my bachelor's in like 18 months in business. And I was just like, hey, I'm trying to figure out the new me after being fired, basically. And then I went into a master's program through UMass, the University of Massachusetts, organizational leadership and so forth. All E7s and above in any branch can go through that organizational leadership program. I did that in like a year during COVID while I was keeping my nephews. And then it was just like constantly chasing a rabbit trying to get more information. So I wound up going out to University of Health and Performance where they taught me more about mindfulness. And then I was trying to get my swole back at the same time. But then it was like, what's your purpose? What's your purpose? And I kept saying, yeah, I want to be, I want to be physically fit. But at the same time, I was like, I'm going to own half of Atlanta. And they were like, you're going to do it. And as soon as I finished that, I was like, yeah, I feel a lot better physically, mentally. I was so driven. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And then I took the Booster Business course. And then I went into Syracuse, for the Onward Opportunity program and did project management. And then I went into a couple of their business courses and so forth. So it's just been a, sequential thing for the last 8 years of finding a new me. And that led into entrepreneurship.
That's fantastic. And so many great programs you listed. I hadn't heard about the UMass one. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, man.
Um, but Syracuse, the IBMF programs, just some phenomenal stuff there. Um, I also took the PMP course and realized that I was never going to get a PMP.
Yeah, but the fun part about it was like doing a correspondence course. And I was sitting at the house, I was tired of going to school, like driving back and forth from Noonan to to downtown Atlanta, being stuck in traffic. And then next thing you know, I'm taking project management, and the course, the way the instructor um, led the course, she kept relating everything back to the military. And I was like, we already do that. So it was just a difference, learning a difference in verbiage. And then the process was still the same. So it made it easier for me to understand. But I was just like, man, I try to advocate for all these different programs now, which is now the business. Like you said, I said a lot of stuff that you didn't know. Well, my name is Mr. Nobody's, aka Mr. Nobody, because nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever told me that. Well, wherever there's a lack of information, it's a business. So it just makes it easy for me to continue to serve and lead and so forth just by telling my story.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, so tell us about Helmet the Books. What do you got going on with this?
What don't I have going on with that? So Helmets to Boots is like a three-headed monster. Initially, just like when you and I got out the military, there was nobody there for us. But when we came in the military, we had a drill sergeant, then we had a first sergeant, a commander, and all these other different agencies. So if there's not a person, then I just chose to be that one. So I spent 3 hours talking to veterans about veterans and family members, specifically about a regulation that's not told to us that the VA uses to make sure that's one for our disabilities. Everybody wants 100%, but they don't understand what the 100% is. So it's like, let's talk about it. There's different ones, and then if you're past that element, you might have to get SSDI because you can't work in whatever case it is. So that's what we do. And then quality of life. It's all about knowing the resources, knowing the benefits. Imagine when you got out, if you spent 3 hours talking to somebody about all the resources you didn't know, you'd be a different person. So it changes our lives. The LLC is I go into corporations again. My experience leads to what expertise. This company fired me for being a first sergeant. I'm going 400 miles per hour. You don't understand the culture that the military embodies in us. So now I get to talk to corporate leadership, HRs, and so forth, and help them figure out what MOSs are and different things for the branches. And now instead of us fighting so hard and going through all these courses, they basically kill ourselves to get into a company. They get the information. They need to meet us halfway. And then that's going to eliminate homelessness and joblessness on the way out. And then Vetron. Vetron is a blessing because everything I don't know, you're an intel guy. So if I'm geospatial, we got all sorts of human and so forth. I just replicated that model from the military. And now I have a state planning attorney that's VA accredited to talk about, hey, what happens to our benefits when we pass, stuff that we don't know. Financial literacy. Vetron has veteran-owned, veteran-operated businesses that I partner with and so forth to help them grow their businesses only so we can make sure that we put out the information we don't know. I didn't know anything about my VA home loan, and there's a veteran spouse, military spouse. That's what she does. That's her business. So I create speaking engagements, basically the same thing I did in the military, and we go from place to place to place. All the three-letter veteran service organizations or whoever want us to come out to talk to veterans and their family members because the family members forget, they get overlooked. But then when something happened to the veteran, they're the ones that are struggling the most, and then it leads into a whole different animal. So it's a speaking team. But it's, just like in the military, you have a primary, secondary, and a backup. Well, the 250 veteran-owned, veteran-operated businesses I meet, they all get to join the team. And so now we get to be three places at one time.
Nice. Man, absolutely love it. Love what you're doing. All right, Jeremy, I want to thank you for joining VET S.O.S today. And on behalf of the entire VET S.O.S family, we want to thank everyone for joining us today. You can find VET S.O.S podcasts on all your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, and all social media platforms. Make sure to subscribe and follow VET S.O.S so you don't miss anything. And as always, remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.